All right, let's get started. Hi, everyone. Jamie here, and we are going to jump into another Thursday team training. I love these trainings because we get to hear from um, so many amazing leaders on our team, and some might say, we have a special topic each time, and you might hear the similar threads, similar concepts or tips from each leader, but you're also going to hear a different approach. You're also going to hear how each of us tackle these specific topics. So we've talked about some really great business building tools and practices already in the last few months. So from learning about the compensation plan and SAV rank to recruiting and follow-ups. And today we're going to talk about telling our story. So I know that this has been something that has been talked around a lot because as we are starting new, whether you're pivoting from an old company to a new company, whether this is your first time in the wellness or beauty or hormone health space or in network marketing as a whole with social selling, it all rises and falls off of our ability to tell our personal story. And I think a lot of times, raise your hand if this is you, you see the leaders around you or the most present social media people and hear how they're sharing. And we naturally default into like, oh, I've got to do it how they've got to do it. Or that was a good post. I need to recreate that post. And while sometimes that can be a really powerful way to grow, it also can really limit us because Kim's story is not my story. Danielle's story is not my story. Artina's is not mine. And that we each that and the power of their story is that it's theirs, right? Just like the power of your story is that it's yours. And it can be really hard to know how to start telling your story because there's so many layers to it. Part of it is tuning in and figuring out what that is, and there are some structure we'll walk through today, like how to start to flesh that out for yourself. Some of it is fear of putting yourself out there online, and we'll talk a little bit about the mindset and around that as well, because that can be scary to get vulnerable, right? And then part of it is just knowing what to do with your story, like where to funnel people with it. Because we're not here just to like stand on a soapbox. We're here to help move people through a continuum and help them. So I wanted to talk a little bit about why stories are so important. I think if you've been on social media for a minute, you definitely we see the influencers that and I don't say that in a bad way, but like they're more just sharing links. There's not like I wouldn't be able to even probably tell you a lot about their life. They they have a following where they can post a link and someone will click it and buy it. And then there's the influencers I follow. Like I can tell you what their favorite food is. I can tell you the fight that they had with their husband 2 weeks ago because they're constantly sharing. And I am invested in their life because for some reason I feel really connected to them. And because they tell their story. Stories attract humans. Um, and when it comes to through a business lens, stories change the conversation from like, what am I selling to what is this thing that I'm selling and what will it do for you, right? Because we're talking about what it's doing for us. We don't buy the thing, we buy what the thing is going to do for me. And we learn that through someone's story. And it changes a transaction from dollars into value, right? Because we remember those stories and those are the things that stick with us. So I'm going to stop there and we're going to jump right into this. But I think that this is such an important topic because this is the thing that changes the game for us. This is the thing that will mute the white noise out there and really pull your people in and help you grow in a way that doesn't feel forced, doesn't feel overwhelming or stressful because it's just you talking about what you know best, which is you. So we're going to get started with, actually, I don't think I have my slides up. Hold on. We're going to get started with Artina. So go ahead, Artina, if you want to
Yes,
start
yes,
while
yes.
I download the slides. I forgot to do that. I knew I was forgetting
No,
something. Oh my goodness.
you're fine. Listen, you have your whole farm babies and all the things. You got a lot going on. Well, happy. I don't know why I always start out wanting to say happy whatever day it is because I never know what day it is. Happy Thursday, right? It's Thursday.
It
Okay. Kim was looking like, no, it's not. Um, happy Thursday. I'm so excited to be here. I love talking about um, this topic just because my story has changed over the years so many times. And I feel like the community that I've built on social media has kind of been with me through it. I've lost people because, I've made changes in my story. Things have happened in my life. And I feel like I'm at a sweet point where the people who are with me are with me. They've gone with me through divorce, and they've gone with me through breastfeeding, and they've gone with me through leaving law enforcement. And although I'm a very private person, like people think they know me, but I'm like, you only know what I choose to tell you. So if for any reason that scares you, when Jamie was saying like, she knows when this person did this and that because she's invested and they share everything, we're not looking for you to share every single thing, but just enough where people can listen to you and feel like, you know what, I felt like that too. Or, I mean, it could be something simple. I used to talk about peanut butter all the time. And there are people who still will send me pictures of peanut butter over something I said like 6 years ago. So it can be extreme, or it can be just something super small that you don't think it like means nothing. And they're like, oh my gosh, me too. But the first thing I want to share is no one is you, and that is your superpower. I have been saying that for years because so many people get caught up in, well, my house doesn't look like that, or my kitchen, doesn't look like that, or I don't look like that, or she's younger, or she's older. And it's funny how things turn around because in my prior business, it was almost for me, it was just like, well, they're younger, of course, right? That was like my limiting belief. Their story was like they're younger. So I'm not that age. So my story can't look like that. But now coming into this, I found myself saying, okay, well, I haven't been through that yet. And I don't know if it's going to work because that's not my story. A young lady said, well, I love this business, but I'm not in perimenopause yet. I said, well, let's clap it up for you. Like, we don't want you to be, and that doesn't have to be your story. Where you are right now, there are people who will resonate with that and say, okay, it can be something as simple as, and I always tell people, I have a story for each product. For each product, like everybody knows that follows me why I use the lip mask. I had a breakout from a supposed to be clean product from Target. It broke my top lip out. I talked about it for days, and now everybody knows my lip mask story, right? It doesn't have to be deep, but that's my story. Everyone knows that I cut my hair. I used to wear my hair as like short, like a super short cut, like a boy, like super short. So now everyone is following my hair growth journey. Mind you, this is not all my hair, but I've had so much new growth from what we call protective styles. And we all know that is coming from the collagen. I cut my nails down like super, super low, and we're worried about how far I cut them down because they were like nubs. So everyone knows my nail story. They like I run it like a commercial. Like I'm always talking about it. And then people, I'll give them a like a way to engage. I'll put like the little you like drag the heart over on the Instagram. And that's just them saying to me, girl, me too. Cause I'm like, how many of you guys have been getting your nails dipped and you feel like they are like brittle and just, they're long, but they're not the same. And then they move the little heart across. And then I'm like, girl, me too. And that leads into something else. That is my story. Everyone knows that I have eczema, so I'm very like cautious about what I put on my face and what I put on my skin. And they know that the body oil is now my holy grail. That is my story. It doesn't have to be as personal as you've gone through something traumatic, right? Or your last husband was a narcissist. He was, but like it just don't have to be that deep. But the biggest thing is that no one is you. And because your story is yours alone and your journey is yours alone, that is your superpower. It does not have to look like anyone else's. It doesn't need to. Okay. Because we're attracting your people. The next thing is sharing your story over and over again until someone resonates with the right person is key. So when I said I run it like a commercial, I don't just tell the story one time. I tell the story over and over again. It's like a few different stories. My big story is that I went from this season in my life where what I was doing I didn't feel aligned with. I asked God to give me a sign. He gave it to me. I went down the rabbit hole of hormone health. It led me to this amazing company, Hugh Grace. It has since changed my life because of this, this, and this. That's like my big story, right? And I think of it like a tree. Like I have my big story, and my story kind of changes on if I'm talking about products or if I'm trying to reel people into the business opportunity. It changes. So that story that I just told you, that is for me saying, hey, I've been there. I've been in spaces where I didn't feel aligned with. I've been in spaces that time was up, and it's okay to move. That's my business story. Then when I talk about my nails and my skin and whatever, that's my product story. Does that make sense? Okay. The next thing is be okay with being a beginner and sharing just as you are and where you are in your journey. I am always sharing as a part of my story that I am not an expert. I'm simply taking you along on this journey with me and figuring out what's working for me. I don't know what's going to work for me until I try it. When I try it, I will come back and share it with y'all. And my community respects that. Like I am at a point where I can say, hey, you need to try this. If you're over 30, you need to try this. If this is happening, you need to try this. But I let them know that I don't know everything. Don't come asking me about ingredients. Don't come asking me about, like, I'm not a hormone health coach or anything like that. I'm just simply sharing my journey. I think a lot of new people get caught up in that, where they feel like, well, I don't even know, I can't even pronounce that. What is it? L-glutathione. Did I say it right? I think I said it right this time. This is the first time I've said it right. Yay. So most of the stuff I can't even pronounce. And I'll make a joke about it. I'm like, just because I can't pronounce it doesn't mean that it isn't amazing. And I let them know, if you want a complete breakdown, just visit the link in my bio, please. And I've created something for you that tells you what this is, what it means, and how it can work for you. So I don't want anyone to feel like they got to know everything to share your story. You can get on here and just say, you guys, I just ordered some premium marine collagen. I don't even know what it all means, but I seen this girl with all this long hair and this beautiful skin. I said, I just had to try it. Your package comes in, you get on, open it up. I'm super excited about it. I'll fill you in a week. That's you being a beginner and sharing your story, and they'll remember that. All right. The last thing is be okay with where you are in your journey. When Jamie talked about looking at other people's posts and being inspired, that's okay. But don't be so inspired where you feel like you have to take on that same thing. Okay. Be okay with where you are in your journey. Speak from it from that, and people will continue to grow with you. I was going to do another slide because, Jamie's like a teacher and all, and she likes to have things up. So this last thing isn't on there, but in regards to sharing on your story, a lot of times I'd go and post from the experts, and I just reshare what they said and just say, here's what I learned today. That's like my little tagline. Hey, y'all, here's what I learned today. So I'm able to share my story, my journey of learning with them. And I'm like, and we're going to do this thing together. We're going to learn together. And that just kind of releases some of the weight off of you. And people feel more comfortable, and you feel more comfortable just sharing where you are.
I love that. The journey of learning. And you do such a great job, Artina, just showing like, hey, I am learning as we go, and sharing it out loud. And I love that. And I think that there's a lot about my life that is no one's business, and it's okay. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I get to decide that. You get to decide that. And I think that that's such an important thing to remember. Period. Always. End of story. No matter what, you get to decide what the world knows about your life. There are ways to tell your story without revealing, all
And
of it.
Jamie, one
Yeah.
more thing. If it's someone that's following you, that when you get ready to post things like that and you're like, well, what would this person say? That person needs to go off of your friends list. Auntie, I love you, Ma, but you got I mute people. I let them know there's some things that when I'm talking about like sex hormones and hormone health, I'll share it on Instagram because my parents don't have Instagram, but I'll delete it from my Facebook because my mom likes to talk like that with me, and I'm like, slow down. So I don't like share a lot of that stuff. And then there's some people who I just don't, who I know are just following me to be nosy. So I either mute them or just delete them. They gotta go.
I love that. And some people, it is part of telling your story can also be a really courageous place of healing and like the biggest connective tissue to help make a difference too. So there's no right or wrong. It's just your own personal gauge. And Danielle is, I know this is scary for her, but she has become someone I like am so inspired by because of her courage and like how much she's sharing her own personal story and more in a way that's becoming so helpful to people on her healing journey. So Danielle, do you want to take it over?
Yeah, hi everyone. So everything that they said, being authentically you, and that's why people are going to join you, not for the product. So for myself, my journey has evolved over the last 11 years that I've been in this industry. I first started out as a busy working mom. I was a hairdresser for over a decade. And so my life looked very different then. I wanted to speak to busy moms that were working or on the go or hairdressers. And now I have been speaking to people that are, dealing with a health challenge like myself. I was diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer at the end of 22, and it rocked our world. And so I've become very passionate about everything that we preach here because I've already been doing this over the last year. And so I have a lot to share on this. I'm going to do it in a really short time. And I'm speaking to a lot of people that maybe have never been in this space. I know for me, I have a lot of advocates that have never been a part of a direct sales company, and they're discouraged at times, and that could be normal. And they're wondering how they share their story. How do they put themselves out there? Like, what do they do? And so I want to break down this a little bit and let you know that your story is going to evolve over time. I'm not the same person I was when I came into this business. It just looks so different for me. So social media is a beautiful place. People come here for, first of all, I'm in the clear. Thank you, Jesus. I had it all over me. I know some of you that maybe don't know me are probably thinking, well, how are you now? I'm good. I'm so great. Thank God. Anyways, just wanted to say that. But people come here for community, I've realized. And as I have progressed in this business, it has really honed in a lot more. As far as my story, right? I kind of felt like it was more broad, being a mom, working and all that, but I've realized you could really hone in on your story because we all have such a unique story. Facebook, people come for community. They come to connect, either finding hope or inspiration or value. And it's really dialed in. So I just want to help you break apart and maybe find a piece of your story that you could start sharing to attract other people just like you. So some questions to ask. Who are you? Write this stuff down and maybe just journal a little bit after this call. Like, what are the things that you're passionate about? How can you draw people into your life? Just pick 3 to 5 things that you're passionate about. For me, it's faith, it's family, it's cancer, it's detoxing, because literally every day I have a whole list of natural remedies and things that I do to heal my body. And it's a full-time job, So I've connected with so many other ladies on here, and it makes me feel like I'm not alone. There's so many cancer groups, and I've learned so much. It's wild, but I think we all bring our own unique abilities and talents to the table that we can also gift to other people, and it be a blessing to other people. So write these things down. Like, who are you? What are you passionate about? Right? Whether maybe you're a teacher, you're a mom, you're into foster care, you love animals like Jamie, you're a hairdresser, share your beautiful hair pictures. I mean, there's so much to share here and hone in on. Maybe you're building a business, right? Like myself, I share about building a new business from scratch and how I went from fitness to more detoxing, right? That's very honed in. We all have things that, we've gone through or that we're going through, and we have a story to tell. You don't have to have this big story like myself, like dealing with some big cancer story, to be successful or to have a voice here. I really believe it's just being authentically you. And when I personally opened up about this whole cancer journey, I could not believe the outpouring love and support from everybody in my life. Just going through this, like it just was authentic. It was who I am and what I'm dealing with. Like this morning I shared I have a scan tomorrow and I'm not okay. It's mentally and emotionally hard to go through this. And I'm just asking for prayers, and it's just my life. I'm going to have to always deal with this and face this. And people want to see behind the scenes. They want to see that you're a real person in such a filtered world that we live in right now on social media, with all the filters and people sharing their highlight reel. People want to see the most authentic you, and that builds so much trust with your audience. Let's see, have some notes here. So how can you fit Hugh and Grace into your life, right? With your story? For me, it goes along perfectly, actually, because I preach detoxing on a daily basis. And this mission is just so beautiful, but that can really fit into anyone's life, whether you're a mom and you want to clean up, your home for your kids and live this toxin-free life, or maybe you're a hairdresser and you want to reduce your chemical exposure. Like we have such a beautiful mission to fit this into anyone's life, but it's just sprinkled into your life. This isn't your life. You don't want Hugh and Grace to be your life. And I know sometimes it could come off like that. I know for me, my last business, at one point I had to take a step back because that's all I shared. I would look and kind of reevaluate my social medias, and I was like this billboard for Beachbody. And I'm like, whoa, I need to be me. I need to be authentically me. That's how people join me, or else, you know what? They should just join Beachbody, because what makes me special? People join you for your story and what connects you to them. So you just want to be authentically you. A couple practical tips, things that have worked for me. Posting a reel and a post very specific to your person that you want to draw in. So right now, this is just a season of my life. I'm sharing all about cancer and detoxing. It's just near and dear to my heart because it's just what's in my head 24/7, and so I just make it very specific to people like me on the other side that need to hear what I have to share, things that I've learned along the way, whether that's about hormones, right? Because what happened to me is really hormone related. And so I have a lot of value. I have a lot of education. I have a lot of research that I could share with people. With people that maybe are going through the thick of this, they don't have time to research, or you just don't know. So find something that's very specific and near and dear to your heart that you're passionate about, that you could share, on a daily basis or every other day, a post or a reel to draw those people in and add value. Think, is this shareable? Is this something that's going to add value to people, right? Not just throwing spaghetti on the wall, like with a product. Like, let's add true value here, and let's see if this could have someone else share it. Be real in your stories. Again, like I said, this builds trust, and people are craving this authenticity in such a filtered, fake world that we live in, especially on social. So just be you, show the real you, show the good, show the bad. People want to see all of it. Do a giveaway. This is something that's been working for me. I go to Etsy and pay less than $5 for like a guide, like a detox guide, a gut health guide, hormone guide. There's so many cheap guides on there. Not that you have to do this, by the way. I just think that it's something I could give away for free, with also grabbing something from someone like an email. And this builds trust as well, because you're getting their email. You could send a simple hello or about yourself, and it's just more connection. And then you're giving something for free of value. So you're going to notice after, giving all this value and sharing the real you, being authentic, that you're going to have your engagement go up. You're going to have your audience expand, and it's going to feel more authentic to you building your business. There's no one like you. There's only one special you. I feel like we're all on an assignment from God, and it's unique and it's special. I know for me, like, this is crazy what happened to me, but I know that I'm here to help people. And yes, we have such a beautiful mission and company products I get to help people is just a bonus. But I feel we get to be in a space to make such a bigger impact than just the products. So really hone in on your story, find those specific things that make you special and unique. And then you can add value to other people's life with the freemium and, sharing your knowledge on everything you've learned, when it comes to maybe reading or running or breastfeeding, or, there's just so many little avenues that you could share on, but be authentically you.
I love that. And I love these questions. Yeah. So it was a good assignment to journal on these things today and like really start to flesh that out if you're unsure where to start with that. That was perfect, Danielle. Thank you. Kim's gonna take it to the next level.
Okay, I unmuted myself. So I wanted to actually talk about our story, but really talk about recruiting, because I feel like this is an area where we get stuck, right? Like there are so many people that they're like, okay, I have a story for the products and I have a story for, to help people as a customer, but they really, really don't understand how people are able to recruit and build a team. And I know that this is something that I feel like I've done better here than in 12 years of being at another company. And one of the things I actually want you to know, if you're new to this space, like you've never done like network marketing, whatever, it's okay, because maybe it's just that you have not found your voice and not understood how you actually bring your people in. And so I know you're going to get off this call and your brain is going, right? And you have all these things. I really want you to think about your perfect advocate, like the person that you would love to be on your team. Because I got to tell you, the woman who just spoke to you previously, Danielle, is on our team, and she absolutely embodies everything that I wanted in somebody that joined my team. And so one of the things that I need people to understand is that anything that you want in a team member is something that you have to somehow emulate or value, right? Because we don't have to be like cookie cutter, kind of like, I've never built a team that's like cookie cutters, but we definitely have things that we value. We definitely have things that are important. And so one of the things that I have realized in going from a business where I was not recruiting anybody in 2 years to being like a top recruiter is because my story didn't fit with what I was inviting people to do. And so I was showing up on social media and I was sharing parts of my life, like leaving a marriage after 20 years and dealing with co-parenting and sharing all those stories. But I didn't have something that actually was something I could invite to. And one of the things that actually made me leave was the fact that there were so many women who were like me, who were trying to leave, who were trying to, earn money for different things. And I did not have something that they could do. And so they loved me they liked my posts. They got what I was saying, but it was only until I actually moved to a space that I was aligned with that actually was going to be something that, yes, these people would agree to do, that my business sort of exploded. And so one of the coolest things is I sign a lot of people that I don't really know in real life, and I sign them virtually because we know each other from social media. But when I get on the phone with them and I find out their story, that's like the first question I asked a new advocate is I say, tell me your story. Like, tell me what makes you tick. And I just let them talk. And one of the things that I realized is that there is this invisible connection to all of us. And some of the invisible connection is these are women who have had to pivot in their life. Like they were definitely given something that they did not ask for. And they had to learn how to pivot. These women have boldly changed their life. Like I see Lisa's on the call. Lisa was in like a really toxic corporate job. And she decided to walk away. She decided like, hey, I can't do this anymore. And she found a new job and she is flourishing in her job and flourishing here. And so all of these things, these attributes that I was sharing were things that people were like, I know what she's talking about. I know what that's like. And so when I authentically just shared my story, people started to gravitate toward that story. And so, one of the things that I want to make clear is I think that there was this time when we were supposed to share everything, like dirty laundry, everything, whatever. I personally don't do that. I have very big boundaries. I really just shared last night that my son actually has lymphoma. I was able to go through that for a month and not have to tell anybody. And here's the thing, what I did tell people though in my story was that it was a stressful time in my family right now. But yet I was able to be calm. I was able to think straight. I was able to sleep. And so I was putting this out there like, oh my goodness, like what? And so one of the things that I kind of like is important to me in my story with I tell people is that we're here to live optimally, that we're here to actually live a life in which we are not kind of keeping our head above water. And so the people who come into my business, into my team, are people who have already taken those steps. Like maybe they're meditating, maybe they've learned about grounding, maybe they've done this. But now I start talking to them about, do you know, guys, that if you don't have like these minerals and vitamins in your life, that you can be doing all these things and still not feel good? And so one of the things that I want to make sure that you guys know is your story is unique to you. And so, for instance, I'm in menopause. I don't talk about menopause. I really don't, because I honestly feel like I feel a certain way about how people talk about menopause lately. And I feel like, we make women feel terrible. And I personally don't want to attract women who just want to sit around and complain about their symptoms. Like I want to attract an empowered woman who is, living living a life in which she understands she has wisdom, in understanding that she's empowered. And so, the people who sell menopause, and I'm not even talking about like our business, I'm just talking about like in general, that's just not my thing. It really isn't. My thing is really teaching women about stress and ability to calm themselves, and then sharing my story of being bold to pivot and being bold to make different things. And here's the thing, I actually really don't bring in people who need their hands held in my business. Like I bring in a lot of empowered women. I bring in a lot of women who know how to share and help other people. And so because of those attributes that I've kind of shared, you almost bring in these awesome people to your business. And so I hope that wasn't too over like crazy, whatever. But
No, it was great. And I love that reminder of how important it is to like tell stories around the business if we want to attract business builders. I think that's something that we overlook a lot. Kirsty is joining us today. She's a director at Hugh Grace as well, and part of our bigger team. And I know you were in the middle of morning drop up. I know I saw you on. Are you good to take over from here, Kirsty?
I am.
Okay.
So, I'm Kirsty. I have been with Hugh and Grace for about 3 years now. And before that, I was with a different direct sales company, Rodana Fields, and they preach and train that you should sell to everyone because everyone has skin. Men, women, demographics, age, just talk about selling to skin. And I did that. And I also was, struggling as you can imagine, trying to get people to buy my product because there are lots and lots of different skincare products out there, many of which are cheaper than Rodan and Fields. So I needed to come up with a way to get people to buy Rodan and Fields versus Bobbi Brown or Clarins at the store, or something even better price point than that. So I started talking about then the value of Rodan and Fields, and while that helped a little bit, it really doesn't resonate. And then I'm spending all of my time trying to convince people that specifically what I'm selling worked for them. We all have lots of stories, and we can create stories that target our target audience. Sorry, I got a dog here dripping water all over my feet. And so I spoke to why I love the products. I spoke about hyperpigmentation and, having a baby late in life. And, I crafted it, and I was then very successful at selling those products and had a great customer base. But it was a lot of hard work. And to me, and regardless of how you craft your story, it is always going to come down to having connections and following through that sales process. But the more you can craft a story to resonate with your target audience, which is not everyone with skin or everyone with hormones, the better they can identify with knowing that they need what you're selling. Fast forward, I joined Hugh Grace. It resonated with me as a company because, I have this history of unexplained infertility. And so, and I have 2 children, both through IVF, and our second daughter was through the gift of embryo adoption. And so I was able to kind of craft much more authentically, not just a story about skin and hyperpigmentation, but a story that resonated with people in terms of not coming across like I'm being salesy. They could tell that I was authentically vested in what Hugh Grace was doing, in the vision of Hugh Grace, in the simplicity of the products. And, I was able to really make a difference by speaking authentically to that. I still struggled with trying to find out who my target person was. I actually was able to recruit really well, not because I was using my story, but because I was using Hugh Grace's story and the opportunity of Hugh Grace. But it wasn't until we came out with our wellness products that it really began to kind of, and for myself, I do speak to being a menopausal woman, and that has been, for me, the secret to having successful sales and, bringing people that I'm not just going to asking for, hey, would you like to buy my stuff? But people look at my stories, what I'm talking about resonates with them. And for the last year, for the first time really in my sales career, I have people coming to me saying, what you're talking about is what I'm experiencing. And, how can I empower myself? How can I make choices to take control of this process? I agree. I don't, think we should go around complaining about being in menopause, but I do think that you can look at your target audience as, for me, it's that perimenopausal, menopausal woman who is just confused as to the huge changes that their body is going through. Like me, perhaps they've gone to speak to medical providers to see whether these symptoms, these things that are happening in their body, are things that they can get help with, that they're not going crazy, that they're not, losing their memory, that they're not losing their sense of self, who they are, their sexuality. Some of those things are very real things that women in perimenopause and menopause go through. And so when I started speaking to that being my experience, I found that I had a lot of people, a lot of women that were turning to me going, yes, that's me too. And I've been blown off as well. And I've been told the same things that you've been told. Because I think it's a question of, we want our customers, and I'm speaking more to customers here, to not just resonate with our story, because if you look at the sales process, there are lots of products on the market. There are lots of even clean products in the market. We can focus on how ours are cleaner, how ours are, absolutely the tippy top of what people want to be, using and looking for. We can speak to, the authenticity of our company, but that doesn't necessarily resonate with our customer base, as well as them seeing, not just recognizing that they have a need. And I think that's what, when I started speaking to menopausal symptoms, menopausal women, managing the process of menopause, managing their skin, their hair, the anxiety that many women in menopause start to experience. When I started speaking to that, I was then selling that I had a solution to them. And a lot of people, they have to identify first that what you're selling is something that they need. That and when they do that, oh, okay, if I started, taking care of my gut health, if I started using products that didn't interfere with my hormones, if I started using oil-based serums to deal with my dry skin, because they've been marketed to for years that oil-based serums are going to cause them to break out. I'm creating in them knowledge. I'm creating in them a need to buy what I have. And then I continue to tell that story. And yes, many customers come to me saying, hey, can you tell me more about this? But I ultimately will always believe that when you need to connect with that person and ask them to buy. So one of the ways I do that is particularly through my stories. I look at who follows my stories consistently, and I make sure I keep track of their names. I follow them. I'll send them, comment on their posts. I'll find ways in which I can start having a conversation with them. And at that point, then I'll invite them to events. I'll let them know about, hey, can I send you a sample? And then I'm leading them deeper into that buying process. The key for all of that is always going to be, making sure that you are tracking these, who you're talking to, whether they're your current customers, potential customers, people you're seeing on social media. It's some people have a very gifted, a wonderful social media presence. Kim, very driven, passionate customers that follow her. I have 10,000 followers. I've got to say, my mind don't jump into buying from me just like that. I do need to really connect with them and ask for sales. And for me, that has been the key. Is I know who I'm selling to. I repeatedly tell the same story, the same issues that I feel my ideal customer has. I build relationships with those people, and then I follow up with them. Once I have them as a customer, I provide good customer service. I make sure they understand our products, particularly, Hydrate Detox. I prep them for how they should mix it, how it's going to taste. It's not going to taste like a Gatorade. With an oil-based serum, I explain to them, yes, it's going to feel this way, but it's going to absorb fully. I tell them, with our cleansing 5-in-1 cleansing mask, yes, it's going to smell earthy. Because I've had a couple of people that are like, oh, it smells, and I'm like, because you are used to buying products that have, a fragrance added, and so you're not actually smelling the ingredients. What you're smelling are the natural ingredients. And when I prep people, our body oil, it feels very thick because it hasn't got parabens in there, elasticizers that slick that moisturizer out. So warm it up in your hands. When I tell people what they're going to see, feel, and experience, I'm building in them that you can trust me. that I'm a knowledgeable person and I can help you. And I'm building lines of communication. And to me, that's been the key for getting a good customer base. And within that, I do and will recruit. I recruit other ways as well, but for many people, your customer base is your warm market, and they are the people that you can also then use to bring into your team. So sorry, I missed the beginning, so I don't know whether I'm covering the same stuff.
No, that was great. And I love how you share your story of even just finding your story, right? Like there's no, it doesn't happen. We don't just pull out this, this perfectly eloquent story overnight. It comes through diligence and patience and time. And it's okay to borrow people's stories. Like you borrowed, you used Hugh Grace's as you built your own here. And I think that that's an important thing to be able to do, right? We borrow each other's stories all the time, and that's part of that. And your target person is the one that is, relates the most to what you're going through. And I want to like wrap up. I know we're at the end of our time. I'm gonna, rather than digging into kind of like what my story is and how I share mine, I want to relay some information that was really powerful for me. She from Kendra Hall. Kendra Hall spoke at a leadership conference of ours years ago, and she was flown in last minute because the keynote was this ancient man who, bless him, was talking about how he used to help heads of state in the Middle East get around a round table. And it was just like talking to a group of 30, 40-year-old women building social media businesses, talking about, talking about stuff he did in the 60s. We were all like, what does this have to do with us? So they politely uninvited him from speaking at the rest of the conference, and then flew this woman in last minute who mesmerized us. She walked onto stage telling us this story, and as how she became a professional storyteller. And Kendra Hall is her name. She has a couple really great books, and I'm going to just share some of her key tips from Stories That Stick. Was her first book, and so that to help understand, like, how do you start telling a story like on social media? We've gotten a lot of great tips of how to pull our story out, but what does the mechanics of it actually look like? So what it is not, and a lot of times what it feels easiest for me to, I find myself even doing this as a default mode, is it's not a list of results and statistics. It's not a list of ingredients and features. It's not a lot of emojis. It's not like a perfect, stories can tell a picture, or photos can tell a story. I said that backwards, but a photo is not a story. It's not a bullet point list, and it's not a bunch of jargon or buzzwords, right? What a story is something that happens in a particular moment in time. There's a beginning, middle, and end. It's full of emotions. You can feel what the person is feeling because they're telling you how they're feeling, or because they're painting a picture where you can put yourself in their shoes. It's just not information sharing. And there are characters to care about. There's something at stake. Usually that character is you, it's a family member, it's a client you're working with, you're on a hero's journey here. And usually we're being the hero of our own story when we're in this space. But we're telling an actual story. So I want to really frame like what a story actually looks and feels like. And a lot of times we do regurgitate lists and bullet points and facts. But let's focus on telling a story instead, like you would, like I think of like a children's book that, that beginning, middle, end. The 3 stories that I think we've heard from everyone, but the 3 stories you want to start collecting for yourself. You want to start writing. Take that journal assignment from Danielle, add to it, like start journaling what your stories are and get it fleshed out so that you can, because you want to tell these, like Artina said, like on a commercial almost, like you're sharing this not just once, but again and again. So stories about the products and the opportunity. If you follow me, you'll see me talking a lot more about the business opportunity and my stories around becoming a leader and building an income and the lifestyle I have. Like I will talk, my brand is much more about what this industry can do for me and you and others than the products themselves. But I also, am building out my stories around the products as well, and around hormone health and around the company. Okay. Stories to illustrate the lifestyle. So every one of us is going to have a lifestyle that looks a lot different, that has value system and interests and passions and hobbies that speak to us. They're going to speak to your target person, right? Some people, and it's kind of like, what is your financial goal out of this? Like, what quality of life are you looking to build with these products or with this income? And you're telling stories around that. I remember one of my very first stories, I saw my previous upline in my first company. She would tell the story about how her and her husband used to go on a walk every night in this little neighborhood in Southwest Portland, and they would walk past this little corner house and talk about how this was going to be their dream home. This was going to be their home one day, and they had a newborn baby, and they had a rental apartment, and she would just tell this story again and again and again about the life she was building for her kid, for her one child, now two, to buy this dream home. And then I watched her buy their dream home, and she was building this lifestyle. It was this simple dream, the simple life that she was continuing to paint a picture, and I became invested in them achieving this dream, right? The lifestyle, maybe you want to be present for your kids coming home from school, or at their never having to miss a a PTA meeting, or a parent teacher conference, or a game, or being able to drop everything and fly to your child if they're sick. Like, that is the lifestyle. Like, that is your lifestyle. What you're working for is your story, and that's going to speak to the right people. But it's not the only one to share is yours. And then stories that help you better lead your team. So this is a really important one too, but it's like, and also this is where you can kind of look and notice like what catches your attention. But these are things that motivate, that can inspire, offer, that can build confidence through your own stories of failure, your own stories of perseverance, your own stories of success. I like to say, like, I have to go first so I can, lead from the front. So stories of trips and incentives, and I like stories of, as you're learning, as you grow, right? I always say fail first, fail forward, and fail often. And those stories of failure can help instill belief and confidence that it's okay to fail. So those are the 3 stories you need, and those are going to be your personal stories. So when you find your story, make a list of your first. What is the first taste of Hydrate Detox like? I know Kim's story of that. I know she didn't like it, right? What are your first? How did it feel to see? And a lot of people have shared their first little hints of their baby, like hair tendrils growing for the first time, seeing hair growth, or feeling, that first day you woke up not feeling like you were a dead girl walking because your body's starting to heal and repair, or that first sale, that first, recognition call, or the first call from Kelly, or the first time you felt like you were winning in some way. Make a list of customers and team members and their stories. Like, we can share other people's stories. I always say, like, I don't have human children. I can't tell stories of my own human children, but I have a bunch of amazing teammates that have great stories as moms, and have great, that I can use and to help share, and connect if there's a mom needing advice or guidance in some way. Make a list of their biggest challenges of these customers and team members. What are they overcoming? What have they overcome? What are they wanting to overcome? A story of the one who got away. That one is, like, Kendra Hall will share the story in her books around the person she wanted to invite. It was her dream team person. And she was like, this person's going to judge me. This person's going to judge me. This person's going to judge me. And then, so she never reached out. And then one day that girl reached out to her to invite her to her direct sales company. And she was like, oh, I had just not waited. So the one who got away, a story then someone said you couldn't, but you did anyways, that story of overcoming. And then in those everyday moments, the things that you learn. I love how Artina shared, like, the journey of learning. Those are the stories that you start collecting. Because I'm not the most organized person in my brain, I like to use my phone in my note section. I'll just brainstorm. I'll just jot things down as they come. And that's how I stay organized. And then I'll be able to reference those things. And as like my little accountability, like, have I told these stories lately? Have I talked about this lately? And then the beauty of actual Instagram stories is that you can share this, like Artina said, as a commercial. I always think of it as like, an installment of a show, like the next episode. I'm like, okay, if I'm bringing someone on a story of journey, a story with me, then I'm going to keep bringing people along, right? With these, like I did this with when I got baby chicks last year, something as simple as like, they saw me bring them home, and then I was nursing them, and then I was building my coop, and then they saw them move into the coop. It doesn't have to be about your hormones. You're bringing people on stories that matter to your life. And so that is our training today. But like, do take the time to integrate this, but just wring out the sponge as you go. There's really no wrong way to do this. And I will say it does take time. It takes time. There will be people that will watch and watch and watch for months or even a year or 2 years. And like, I even now, like I haven't posted about hydrate and detox in weeks because I've had other things going on, and I've had 2 people in the last 24 hours just randomly message me about hydrate and detox. So like, as you tell your stories, it sticks with them, because if you're telling them in a way that becomes memorable, like I said at the beginning, right, then they will, and you stay present in their newsfeed, they'll know like, oh, I want to talk to her about that. It will, when it becomes relevant for them, you want to make sure they know that you're the one to reach out to. So, any questions before we end this? Thanks, Linz. Lots of nuggets. Anything anyone wants to add? This was great. All the leaders, is so many great tips and value. Okay. Well, if anything comes up, put it in the comments section of the stream. In the pinned section of our team page, in the featured section, I should say, is the Google Doc of all of our trainings. Every training gets recorded and will be added into that, and then within like probably 24 or 48 hours, usually right away, but give it a day or so, and it'll always be there. The live stream will always live in our team page. Tonight we have our Hormone Harmony event. It's going to be really great. So if you're on a journey of learning, you can use your story of how you're learning to invite to come learn more about hormone health. You don't have to be the expert. We've got experts that are sharing. So you can bring people along on this learning with you tonight, to learn about hormone health and certain ailments and illnesses that we might not even know are connected to our hormones. So, have a great day, everyone. Thank you again.